If you get your news from the New York Times or other popular news sources, you may have heard that buyer's agents are going away. Well, I'm going to tell you some crazy stories from working with sellers that are going to help you understand what the value of a buyer's agent is and why they are not going away. And the second one is a real doozy, so stay tuned. First, typically when I list a house, I have dozens of showings in the first week, a busy open house, and I get about 100 emails, 100 texts, 50 phone calls to field a day. And I'm also probably fielding offers. Now this business is all by design because I work really hard to increase leverage for my sellers because it results in the most money. So anyway, one time when I listed a house, it was a completely crazy day. My phone was ringing off the hook. I had 5 million emails to attend to. And one of the calls was from a couple in town who was unrepresented. They did not want to work with a realtor at all, and they wanted to see the place. So they asked me a host of questions that made exceedingly clear that they did not understand how real estate worked in the state of North Carolina. But they were thinking about making an offer, and they were noodling about trying to figure out if I would give them the answer to if whatever they were thinking about offering was worth writing up. Now, of course, I couldn't give them the answer to that. That would have been illegal. They probably didn't even know. But I also did not have the time to show them the house because I was busy fielding calls from agents who were writing up offers. I didn't have time to explain to them how real estate worked in the state of North Carolina. And these people needed several hours of work just to be caught up to speed. They didn't have the slightest clue of how the paperwork worked, what agency was, why they should be working with a realtor at all. Now, they told me this was their dream home, but they didn't want to work with a realtor, so they came late to the party and they were so underinformed that they were not able to get in an offer on time. So even if I had been open to writing an offer for them as an unrepresented party, and I wasn't because I don't have time to work for free, I didn't have the time to do that even if I wanted to. The bottom line here is this. Especially in sellers markets, this is what life is like for good real estate agents. They don't have time to work for free with anyone who is unrepresented. So if you're a buyer in a seller market, you're far better off getting an agent. If these people had taken my advice and gotten a buyer's agent, they would have been able to get an offer in on time. Instead, they had to sit on the sidelines as someone else bought the house. All right, the second story, and this is my total nightmare. It illustrates why a lot of real estate agents and their sellers do not want to work with unrepresented buyers. Years ago, when I was newer in the business, I listed a house and I got into a situation where I had a buyer call me up who was unrepresented. And this guy insisted on working with me. And I explained to my sellers the risks of working with this person. I told them I would rather not work with them because I only like representing one side at a time. But I said I would do it if they really wanted me to. And the sellers told me they did want me to work with them. They understood the risks. They trusted me. So I attempted to thread that needle, but it was a total disaster. These people were from New Jersey. They didn't understand the first thing about real estate in North Carolina. And because I represented the seller, they were unwilling to listen to anything that I said. In addition to that, they tried to argue that the seller should replace the roof for $20,000, even though the roof had no issues with it. Now, if they were working with a good agent, all of this would have been filtered through that agent first, instead of causing all of the bad blood that such bogus requests created. They even went so far as to insinuate that they were going to sue us over their misunderstanding of how tax records report square footage. Now, they didn't have a legal leg to stand on, but they really stressed all of us out. They didn't understand the lot, and when I tried to explain it to them, they wouldn't listen to me. They treated me like an adversary from the start, and their hubris and aggression made everything exceedingly difficult for my sellers and myself. So this is an example of how the average consumer really doesn't understand real estate, even though they think that they might. And to be quite honest with you, some of the very worst offenders I have seen in this category, they always think they know what they're talking about, but they don't. And there are going to be a lot of agents out there like myself who do not care to work with these people, not only because they're a pain to work with, but because they're an actual danger to the transaction itself. So these people ended up walking away from the deal. They cost my seller time on the market. They cost us both a ton of stress. And at the end of the day, a lot of agents and sellers are going to decide it's just not worth it to work with unrepresented buyers. A lot of sellers are going to decide to pay for buyer agents, not only because it's going to end in more money for them, but also it's going to reduce the likelihood of getting sued, that's a big one, while increasing the chances of going to closing. It just makes sense. Do you know what happened after this nightmare of a situation went away and those people walked out the door? We went back on the market. We went under contract with an agent, competing offers, and we sold for $100,000 more with a buyer's agent on the other end than we were under contract for with the unrepresented people. So yeah, it just makes sense.